Hello, everybody. This is Mark Kumar, your lifestyle entrepreneur and a proud owner of Simple Podcast Cloud. And today, I want to introduce to you Mark, who is also a podcaster, and he's going to share his story as to how he got started and what he actually loved about it. So I'm extremely excited to have him here, and it's going to be a blast. I cannot wait to have this conversation with you more. So tell me a little bit about yourself first and people who may not know you, and then we get into the wonderful world of podcasting.
Well, I'd like to thank you for having me on first, Mark. This is awesome. Usually I'm on the other side of the camera doing this. My name is Marc Hart. I'm a high school basketball coach. And during COVID, I started a online clinic business where coaches came on and shared information. And it turned into something a little bit more and become pretty big. I've grown the email list up to about 600 people. I've done over 45 online clinics with college coaches, high school coaches across the country, have people in the United States. We've had people as far away as the Netherlands, Germany join. And I decided in late May, to add podcasting to it and bringing in coaches and interviewing to help promote the online clinics and to talk to coaches. And that's how the podcasting got started. It wasn't really anything I planned. It was just something I thought I could add, and I'm having fun with it. So,
Okay, so it's like what I call is like accidental, success. It just happened, and now it's just blowing up, which is great. So tell me, what is your podcast about?
it's interviewing basketball coaches. So the name of my company is System Basketball. So I just kind of interview them about what type of systems they run, like what we talk about their offenses, their defenses, and of course we're talking about right now the NBA and the bubble and different variety of things. So it's just kind of coaches sitting there hanging out talking.
Okay, that sounds like fun. It definitely is. Because you obviously share some strategy between you and other people who you're talking and things of that nature. So, just out of curiosity, you could have picked anything to start a podcast. Why basketball?
I've coached high school basketball for 20 something years, so I figure that's my niche. That's what I know. So figure I think you need to know when you're podcasting about your subject matter so you can have an intelligent conversation with the person. So you're not so you can carry it on. And I've coached thousands of basketball games, so I feel I can have a conversation,
Oh my God.
whether
Yeah.
with someone way above my level, that's maybe even an NBA coach or a Division I college coach. I still feel
Okay.
I can have a conversation with him about basketball.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I used to play basketball back in high school. I didn't play anywhere like in the team wise, but it was truly a fun to play it, and so it brings back good memories of playing that basketball. That's awesome, man. So when you started your own podcast, did you know anything about podcasting before you started? Like some people listen to it for X amount of times. Did you just went it all in, or
The only
how did that start?
the only thing I really knew about it is, I mean, I know I listen to a lot of talk radio,
Okay.
like Colin Cowherd and big guys that turn their shows into where you can download it if you missed an episode.
Okay.
Um, but the intrigue started when I started the system basketball business. Another podcaster asked me to come on his show, and he interviewed me over the phone. It was just a phone one, and I'm like, hey, well, that's when the curiosity came. Well, maybe I can do this, and I can interview coaches and make something of it. That's kind of how the intrigue came. I've known of them. I never studied them. I never thought about doing one.
Trust me, you probably went the most productive way to do it because you just like I don't know how to do it, but I'm just gonna do it and see what happens. As compared to on the flip side, where people literally spend good 6 months to a year trying to figure out what they want to talk about. Like that's just crazy. I
I'm
find
just
it.
doing I'm just doing a trial by ear. I
Ex-
haven't got into the big gear yet, man. I got a laptop. I got Zoom. I got uh, oh, a camera I'm using, and I'm just hitting record. And I'm kind of
I love it.
I'm
I love
learning.
it.
I'm learning as I'm going. I met you. I mean, I'm been joining. Been listening to the Podfest right now. That's going on.
Okay.
Met some people. Listened to some of those events. So interested in probably gearing up here soon, getting some microphones and um, debating. My wife owns a little business where I could actually use her real estate that she has of her business and maybe make a little in studio podcast eventually as well. So um, I'm, I'm thinking big. I'm thinking about making some merch and stuff like that. But it's growing. I'm I'm 30 out of the 50 states have picked it up, and it's being heard in 7 countries right now. So I mean, I'm not big time at all.
Oh,
I'm 20 episodes in, so
man, tell you what, the setup that you have, some people literally will kill for it because they overcomplicate whole thing. You got simple thing. I got a laptop, I got a Zoom and a camera. I'm good because that's beautiful because you are literally take that setup and start recording anywhere.
yeah,
You don't need to worry about it because that's like so simple and easy. And you guys heard it here. It's really simple to start your podcast. A laptop, Zoom, which is an application to record your podcast, and a camera, whether it'll be like a web camera or in your case, you're using what? Something unique, isn't it? You're not using the
actually,
webcam.
I'm not even using a webcam. I'm using my iPhone 11. So I went on YouTube, which a lot of us have done, and did a hack because with COVID, I
Right.
wanted to get a webcam. I wanted to do all this stuff. Thought about getting a Canon M50, and like that's the big YouTuber created video.
Right.
But a friend of ours said I was due for an upgrade on my iPhone.
Uh huh.
So I went and did that, and I did some research on how to turn your iPhone into a webcam. And by far, I mean, if we did it on here, you guys would see the total difference between a 720 FaceTime, uh, the video camera on my MacBook,
Oh
as
yeah.
opposed as opposed to the iPhone is just unbelievable. So
I'm so glad you said that because the best tool that we currently have, all of us, no matter where we live in the world, our cell phones are the best tool because they've got the best technology built in and then they have the best video camera. So if you really want, I mean, I have done it before. You could literally just use your phone, record a podcast. If anything else, download
yeah,
the Zoom app and you're good. Like it does not get any easier than that. Don't you feel?
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I have it on the tripod. I'm the other equipment that I invested in. The only major thing I invested in is the Smooth 4.
Okay.
I don't know if you know it's a gimbal. Um, I
Yeah,
like
tell me a little about that because I don't know about that.
it.
Smooth
It's
four.
a gimbal, so like if you're into video creation and YouTube stuff, where you can walk around and it holds in it's a stabilizer, but on it also has a tripod feature. So it's a gimbal and tripod. It's Smooth 4 Zion. I can't even really. It's ZIHUYN.
Oh, don't worry. So it's a tripod, pretty much. It helps you.
Google Smooth 4.
Okay.
Um, you'll see YouTube videos and Amazon. It will come up. It's one of the 4 or so gimbals that are out there that it basically it's pretty good setup for you, like for video creators or even what I'm doing right now. So
Okay. All right, cool. So now what I'm talking about is like since we got the equipment, which is very simple. Like you got this down pack. It's so cool. You don't understand how great you have it because it's like simple. Laptop, cell phone, we're good. Zoom app, good.
yeah,
We're good. Like like I said,
I mean
you don't even yeah, you could literally set up your podcast
I,
studio
I do it.
anywhere.
I do it on Anchor. I mean, most people start off there and then
Right.
they'll level up.
Right.
Uh, hopefully I outgrow it. So that's the plan, right? As everybody outgrows it, and you get some sponsors,
Yep.
and you make it big, and you get to like iHeartRadio or
Oh yeah.
whatever the case may be. But I think at first you can't really worry about the money. Everybody would like to monetize it, in my opinion, but you got to show that you're having fun. And And I think
I'm so glad you brought that up because I will, if you don't mind, expand on that one because some people they're like, I'm gonna become a podcaster because I want to get sponsors, I want to get make money and things of that nature. And when those things don't happen, then they get depressed or they're like, podcasting sucks.
yeah, I mean, you got to enjoy. I think you got to come off in your podcast. I mean, if you're doing a video one, they're going to tell you if you're having fun. Audio is different. I mean, so my podcast started off originally as video on YouTube, and then I started uploading it or downloading it to audio as well. So, and I started asking the people that were tuning in, are you watching it more on YouTube or do you like it better on audio? So they've been telling me they like it better on audio because they're working out or they like to go on a morning walk or they're driving the car or whatever. And it's just easier for them. And so I started advertising it more. I advertise it both ways.
Right.
But so sometimes now I purposely release the audio first.
Okay.
And then wait a few days and say, hey, now it's available
On
on
YouTube.
YouTube. And I've done live streams like you're doing right now on YouTube too. There's a little learning curve on that. I was explaining to you before we hit record that I haven't used StreamYard yet. I've been using Zoom, so I would go live stream through Zoom, and then it would hit it, and then it would pop up in my browser, and I get the feedback because I didn't realize I had to hit mute. So
Okay.
when I'm talking, like if I was talking right now and I was interviewing you, you would hear me feedback because through Zoom, it's about a 4-second delay.
Oh yeah, I never actually used the Zoom app to go live on it because I always use the StreamYard application because I feel like that's really good and then and it's not only just give you ability to go live on YouTube, but you can also go live on your Facebook page, your Facebook groups, and Twix, and a couple of other online platforms. That's
Multiple,
like
and you can go multiple at the same time, right?
yes, absolutely. So you be just like one person, and then it just broadcasts everywhere else. But what also I love about it is that fact that if wherever someone is commenting on it, it will come up on your Streamlab platform, and you can literally show that as part of your stream, which is great.
So do you just have your laptop or do you have a double like a
The beautiful part about it is the setup you have, your laptop. That's all you need.
with StreamYard? Okay.
Yeah, it works great. So, and then also it's really good to record interviews like this. And then what they do is obviously they give you the video part of it and also the audio part. If you got your systems in place, you could literally just hit record and then you take the video, you upload it to YouTube, you take the MP3, you upload it to your podcast hosting company, Simple Podcast, or your whatever you're using, and then that's it. It's done. No post-production whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, we got a little bit more customization instead of doing it through Zoom.
Yeah.
You got overlays and stuff like that. I'm glad you did this with me today because you asked me if I was using it, and I just literally looked into it 2 podcasts ago. So that was like Monday. So I started messing around with it, did like a test one where I was just doing myself and on the free one. So just seeing how much I want to invest in it and stuff like that. So
right. Yeah. It's definitely worth. Definitely, it's the great tool to have it in your toolbox because it is so versatile. Unlike your Zoom, somebody has to download their software and everything else. And for some reason, I don't know why it seems like we're talking about the StreamYard rather than the podcasting. But I guess anything goes.
Yeah, it's part of podcasting. So
exactly. So for example, people who are looking into getting started into podcasting, like we don't know what tool we're using. If you don't know anything about it, definitely check out the StreamYard platform, and I'll put a link in the show notes for you guys so you can just get that. And then definitely check them out because they give you a lot of versatility. Even on their free plan, you can have up to 20 hours. So if you're just starting out, so that's 20 podcasts per month, which is pretty decent amount if you think about it. Not only because you can literally just go live on your YouTube, and the system that I use and I teach other people to use it is like use StreamYard and then go live on your YouTube. So that way your video file is saved on YouTube, and then you take that video and then convert it into MP3, and then your backup becomes your YouTube channel. And then also, you don't have to worry about it storing it in your hard drive because your YouTube will store the video for you, which is pretty cool.
That's interesting, Mark, because you can't go live from Zoom unless you have a paid version.
Wow,
I didn't know if you knew that or not. So
I didn't, because I never really used it. I did not know that. That's interesting. Yeah. So tell me about like back to our podcasting thing. Now that we promoted enough the hell out of the StreamYard.
StreamYard is going to call us and become an affiliate. So
yeah, exactly. So, and then how do you go about like far as the format of the podcast? Like for example, you could have an individual one, or you could have an interview one, or which one do you prefer better, or which one has been working out for you better?
All 20 of them have been interviewed. I have not done a solo, where it's just me talking. They've been predominantly with coaches that run a particular style, so it's been even more niched in basketball. The company name System Basketball. There's a form of basketball called the System. So I want to say 18 or so of my guests have been related to that version of basketball.
Okay. So would you ever consider doing a solo one, or interview you feel like is more of a content?
I feel weird just me talking to people about system basketball. I could, but it was just I did a clinic where I had 50 something attendees where I was talking about what we do.
Right.
It just felt weird because you put your screen in share mode. And you really couldn't see the people. So you're like, it's really weird. Like right now, I'm having a hard time with you because I got my tripod up and I'm talking into here. It takes a while to learn this stuff.
Right.
I want to look down at my laptop. Is what I really want to do.
Right. Exactly. So it's just a natural instinct to look down. Right.
So I mean, I know you probably went through it early on in your podcasting days, and because you want to see what's going on your screen, and people are chatting with you, and you got to realize it takes time, patience in podcasting, because I'm glad I just got the nerve just to hit record.
Because really? Let's talk about that a little bit.
I think a lot of people want to do a podcast. A lot of people want to be on camera, but they're either shy.
Okay.
They're not comfortable talking. And the more you hit record and you do these, I think mine have improved with post-production. I mean, I do some video editing to make graphics and stuff, but I listen back to my own podcast to go, oh, I was terrible, like on my first one, or I asked too many questions. And I think that your podcast, there's a sweet spot. It can go too long. Okay. If there is such a thing, the interview will dictate how long it goes, probably, if the person's engaging and the person's asking questions. But I don't know about you. I think probably the sweet spot for your listeners is probably about 40 minutes. Or even less. I don't know.
Depending on who the listener is. Like, for example, when I was listening to the podcast, and when I first started, because I listened to the podcast for 3 years for every single potentially podcast that were out there. And I would look for literally once, like it's almost like it was a drug to me. I was addicted to it. Like I wanted to literally gain knowledge. And so I would literally look for a podcast that was an hour and a long. I would not listen to anything 30 minutes, but depending on your schedule and what you want for it or whatever, because
Yeah.
I would listen to it when I would go for my long walk. I'm talking like 8 to 10 miles long walk. It takes 2 hours or whatever the case might be. So I want to listen to something that way I'm walking, getting healthier as well. I'm feeding my brain.
I would agree with you. Since I've started doing podcasts, I don't even know if I'm watching television anymore. Like I'm walking around the house with earbuds on, or I started walking. So I think I just started walking just to give me an excuse to listen to podcasts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm listening to stuff that like out there, like just to listen to
Yeah.
people do the interviewer and the podcast, like I'm sure you did it. You're like hunting the top people in the profession, and you're going, well, what makes them so special?
Yep.
Is it content? Is it their interview approach? Is it their guests? Are they getting? Is it because they're? I mean, there's lots of no-name podcasters probably
Right.
just as good. They're good podcasts, but nobody knows the person. They're no name. So it's.
Right.
I mean, not to knock anything, but Michelle Obama just started a podcast, right? I mean, so what is she in? What has she done? One or two of them now, and I mean, she probably has more views or listens than we do in 1 minute.
Well, right, because
Because
she's
she's Michelle Obama. So
exactly,
it's not
exactly.
necessarily how she interviews
Right.
or whatever, but it's Michelle Obama. So
Right. So tell me this. I'm so glad you brought that up because like what format that you personally enjoy listening to? Like whether it be like somebody who's just doing the rapid fire question, boom, 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 and is done, or it's more like a conversationalist or the combination of two, or is there a particular format that you actually enjoy and you get engaged?
I like when it becomes a conversation where there's like some questions thrown in,
Right.
but then just like if you're boys, like if you're just sitting in the room and you're talking and saying, like I just started, instead of it just being so systematic,
Uh-huh.
I started going, well, what are you streaming on Netflix? That's like one of my ones because everybody's like locked up.
Right.
I mean, I'm in California, so it's like going in reverse, like with COVID and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I've been out to dinner twice since March.
Oh, trust me. For me, the highlight is like going to a grocery shopping for shop. That's like wow.
I
So it's
mean,
like I look forward to like I get to get out the house and go grocery shopping. Yes.
yeah, my backyard has become like the oasis. Like,
Oh yeah, it's same thing here, man. Like I think everywhere else, I was like on Home Depot because I built a little backyard, little planting garden thing, whatever. And I would just go to Home Depot like every other weekend or weekday or whatever, and then I would just see that supplies are just running out. They just don't have it. I'm like, wow, it's crazy. A lot of people they got to do something with the time. Like the other day, I went to Walmart and just for shopping wise, and on normally they have like a bunch of bicycles and weights going around. I was like, all gone, empty. Like what?
yeah.
Like literally crazy. So yeah. All right, cool. So tell me a little bit about your podcast. That's
Well,
phenomenal.
I met a coach online
Okay.
that is an assistant coach for the Guam national team. So I interviewed a guy all the way across in Guam. So that's kind of helped me. So, like I told you, I have 7 other countries that have started listening to my podcast just because I got a guy that coaches the game of basketball, and we had that in common. And we were discussing on a podcast. I'm here in California, and he's in Guam. So it was Tuesday night. It was Tuesday night here, and it was like Wednesday afternoon there. So, and we went. He was my first guy that I
Okay.
ever went live stream.
Oh wow.
So I was nervous. He was nervous, but like that podcast blew up. So I was small. I was getting 50 downloads, 60 downloads like per
Right.
episode, and
Right.
within the first day, I had 45, 50 for him. because I went live on YouTube. I don't know if that's the power of YouTube or it helped. And
It definitely helps because podcasting is great on its own, and then people can listen to it on their own. But also, if you combine the YouTube plus podcasting, it will blow up your brand. I mean, your brand and also your podcasting as well. Because YouTube is just like a search engine. If somebody types it in, and then your show comes up, and you're talking about blah blah blah, and then, oh, by the way, I have my own show. Come check out on iTunes or iHeartRadio, and then boom, there it goes. It's like
yeah,
a
and in your opinion, Mark, is Apple the biggest podcaster?
oh
Like
yes, absolutely. That's like the biggest platform.
in
If you
marketing, I mean, that's the one. I mean, I have, as you know, you get lit, you throw it up there, and seven people pick you up pretty quickly. So I'm at seven, and I'm on Apple, and so pretty much though, I don't know if I'm doing a disservice, and I wanted to ask advice on this from you. Should I be throwing out all the links, or should I just be focusing on like Apple and Spotify? Because some of the other ones I've never even heard of.
There's so many out there, because the thing is, what I have found, and while I was going through my own journey of getting a podcast, creating my own podcast company and all, if you can get yourself in iTunes or Apple Podcasts, now they call it, the other little boys, they will pick it up because they go right to your RSS feed on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. So number one would be definitely the Apple Podcast. Number two would be, for me, Spotify, and third is your iHeartRadio. If you can get on those three, you're gonna blow up.
It seems like iHeart's the hardest one to get on.
Oh yeah, they would require me to have, I think, minimum of 2 months of content before they even consider it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just because they want to make sure that you don't just go in and because you got motivated, like, all right, went to some seminar or took some course. Now I got a podcast, and 2 weeks later, I don't want to do it anymore. Because they got to worry about the content for their people as well. So,
what's your best practice? Do you do weekly, daily? When do you release them?
It really varies because sometimes I'm gonna roll every single day for the whole month, and sometimes it's like twice a week. So depending on my schedule, what's going on, what projects I'm working on. But because the systems that I have in place now, I can literally record it and release it the next day, and I'm good. It's crazy. So, the first number one thing I can say is, like, if you are becoming a podcast or thinking of starting a podcast, have a system. The system would be like, hey, whether you want to have a solo podcast or interview podcast, whoever it is, like, if you're doing, let's just say, for example, if you're doing solo, which will make your life a whole lot easier because everything is on you. You don't have to rely on anybody. Any links or any the description you put in it, you already have it. So sit down on a Saturday, record 2 or 3 of those, batch them up, like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. And you pick a topic, whatever topic. And speaking of topic, how do you create content for your podcast? Like, how do you, like, for example, you're doing an interview show, right? So how do you like validate that this individual is going to provide value for my podcast?
Well, like I said, system related. So I asked them about questions. It's a very controversial way to play. And not really, I don't want to say controversial. It's a radical way to play. So not too many people do it. It's like 1% or less. So I asked the questions that majority of people that are attempting to possibly play this way. And then we talk about it. We talk about their experience with it. So I basically asked the question that a lot of people, by coming on my clinics, so remember I was doing the clinics,
right?
All these people would ask questions. So I have a question bank that I ask them. And some of it's the same, some of it's not, but it's based upon whether they're new doing it or if they've experienced it. Like last night I had guys that wrote a book on the subject.
Okay.
And they've been running it for years. They're considered the gurus of it. And I didn't ask them the basic questions. I asked them about how the game how it's changed, how it's evolved.
Right.
I asked them about their book. I asked them about tell me some of your most memorable moments running the system, stuff like that. And each show's a little different. I don't want it to be canned, like you said, just rapid fire questions, because you're going to lose your audience retention, probably.
Oh, definitely. Trust me, not only just your audience, because when I first started out, I would ask like a very bullet point question, boom, 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 boom. And then by the fourth one, I'm like, I'm getting bored of asking the same damn question.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to change this up a little bit. So it's just not just for my personal interview, but like, let me make it fun for myself so I'll get enthusiastic about it. I'm like fired up because I'm like, I enjoy this, but I want to enjoy it more, not be like 5 questions later, I don't know what to ask. Like,
I have a
what
script.
was,
I have a script of usually about 12 questions, but based
okay,
upon how they answer,
right,
I probably have like a follow up,
okay,
or I I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I'm comfortable talking to people. So I mean, so
it's,
so it becomes easy, and I don't want it to be questioning me. I want it to be, like I told you, more conversationalist.
right,
If we can laugh, we can giggle, we can have a good time. I mean, the guy, I had to lose it yesterday. We had
okay,
a first on podcasting history, he said, and he said it in the middle of it, and
okay,
I could have been like, oh my god, we're recording, and oh my god, he's like, it was my first co-hosted, so I had myself and two other people that I was interviewing,
okay.
and he goes, Gary, can you take this question because I have a podcasting first nature calls. And you can, like, if it's audio, you know what I mean, you could probably
Right,
cut that out,
right,
but it was video.
right.
Luckily I wasn't live, but and then he had his cat kind of walking around behind him. He's like, God, my cat's in here too. And he asked his cat to remove. So it wasn't like we were like stressed about it being
Right.
recorded, and we were in like a big production studio. So I mean, I don't know. There's lots of podcasts out there. I mean, there's some that are professionally studio done, spending.
But I think what it is, the beautiful part about the podcasting is like there is no one right way to do
No,
it. You could totally screw it up and people would love it. Literally.
I mean, there's so many different genres and niches that people are doing podcasting. I mean,
Right.
I haven't done the individual one. I feel I have a hard time um, talking and putting myself as the expert, if you will.
Okay.
Um, I consider myself confident in what I do as a coach and know a
Okay.
lot of content,
Okay.
but I would be probably doing one of these and like this and probably have to take, instead of just hitting record and then roll with how the podcast comes out with another person.
Right.
Probably be, you say, batch those on a Saturday. Yeah, that would turn into probably a 14-hour adventure because I'd probably go, don't like how that sounds. Don't like how that sounds. I already do it on like my intros or outros or whatever. So that sounded like crap.
Right. I'm so glad you said that. It sounded like crap because like I think the first time maybe you experienced the same way where when the very first time I recorded myself, then I heard myself, I'm like, oh my god, I sound like that? That's horrible. That was like because I guess because we're not so used to listening to our own voice, because in our mind we think we sound a certain way, and then we actually listen to it. Like for example, if I was talking to you on the phone, I know what your voice sounds like, but I don't know what I sound like. You were like, guy, Mark is like crap, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, like whatever. So the first time when I heard myself, I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
I sound horrible.
my mom's been listening. My mom's been watching some of them on YouTube, and I make a joke.
Okay.
I go, I got a face for radio. So
Okay.
I go, I got a face for radio and a voice for radio. She didn't get it. It was just a joke. I'm like, I think my podcast sounds better when it's just audio. Because I'm not having because my biggest problem right now is barbers and stuff like that with a haircut.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I have the hat on. I'm not going to lie, the hairs look like
Oh.
like COVID out of control.
Trust me, been there. I did a few episodes with the hat on because my hair was like all over the place. So when I finally my salon opened up, I'm like, I gotta get a haircut, man. So I totally understand. I did the hat. I went to
It started. They opened it up,
yeah.
and then 2 weeks later, it was like, nah, you can't do it no more.
Oh,
And I'm not gonna go sit in someone's backyard or in the garage or.
right. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely an interesting time. So but you gotta do what you gotta do, moving around. At least where you are, the weather is awesome, and it's summertime.
100
So
degrees. It's 100. It's 100.
I love the hot weather. I will have that any day of the week. I
Where are
don't
you at?
really.
Where are you at?
I am based out of New York, so the winters are here not that pleasant, and I would be okay with it if I did not see snow for the rest of my life.
I'll love it next week a little bit better. On Wednesday, I'm heading to San Diego for a few days. So
Okay.
if you've never been there, that's the spot to be.
Okay. No, I've
What's
never been there.
the weather like there? 75, 75, 75, 75, 75 all the time.
Wow, sounds like a paradise.
And it's expensive to live there, but so is New York. So
Right, exactly. All right. So tell me this: if you were to start your podcast, let's say you are assuming, like, just say, let's say you are 30 years old, and the 25-year-old, the younger version of yourself, said, like, "Hey, I want to start a podcast." What advice would you give that younger self?
geez, I already said I think you got to be patient with it
Okay.
and live with it, and
So, so
know that every episode you do. is
So
not-
let's so
not-
let's get a little specific. Let's say, for example, the younger surf, the 25-year version of like, I want to start a podcast. You tell him do 1, 2, and 3 step to get the podcast out. What would that be? I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm basic, so you gotta have. I mean, you can do it as simple as with your phone. You don't have to have a computer. You can start with a phone, a tripod. I mean, you don't really want to be holding your hand like this with the phone, but you could. If you're not doing a video one, you can just do a straight audio one. But I would advise to make it video and audio, and find a service that records both for you.
Okay.
Upload it to Vimeo or YouTube, probably YouTube. YouTube's the biggest beast. And maybe until you get it, maybe you don't even go public with it. Maybe you just put it as unlisted or private or whatever, until you feel more comfortable in launching it. But advice would be to hit record and get comfortable with yourself in front of the camera.
Best advice ever. Because I think that's one of the challenges a lot of people face is like, because they're not used to it, but they're like, as soon as they hit record, get in front of the camera, they freeze. They're like, and I find that the thing that what they're going through is like, hey, I need to look a certain way. I need to look professional, and I have to. For ladies, have to have a makeup and hair done. For guys, it's like not that important. But there's like the professionalism syndrome is what I call it that kicks in, and then most of us, when we listen or watch a YouTube video, we don't care. Because what is the one thing that we care about? What problem do we have? And can this particular individual help me solve it? That's it.
And I the one thing is I haven't invested in it, that I've learned, and maybe this is that audio, even though I'm talking about my iPhone camera, audio is more important than camera.
Oh, absolutely. A person will be like okay with it if the video is like somewhat choppy, but the audio choppy, you would not listen to it. Yeah, definitely audio is definitely a good thing. All right. So,
audio and a iPhone or Samsung, whatever smartphone that you can hit record with, and just go pick. Probably the last thing is pick something that you're knowledgeable about, so that you can come off as the host of the podcast as maybe an expert or where you can add value to it, add interjection to theirs. So you're not just saying, hey, can you tell me about this? And then listen to them talk. So the podcast is really them talking and you just asking and you talking like 5 questions.
Right.
You got to kind of have some interaction.
Yeah, just like this, right?
Yeah,
I talk, you listen, you talk, I listen. It's just back and forth. It's just like
yeah,
like I tell my friend, people who want to get on my podcast, like they get nervous, like what question are you gonna ask? Can you send me the question in advance? I'm like, listen, my podcast is probably the most simplest and the funnest there is because it's like the best way I could describe is like you and I are going on Friday night and having a good old time and having a conversation. That's it. Like,
and I asked you that question. I asked you to send me away. So,
right. So
and
like
you did what you told me, and it's been. I'm very comfortable. So,
right. So it's like
been awesome. So.
Yeah, I find like that's the best content is come out of those conversation. Like right now, we talk so much about StreamYard. We talked about how simple you need to have your kind of system. Basically, iPhone, your laptop, and Zoom app. 3 things you can go and get your laptop out in the world. Like this is
And
not.
have courage to just hit record.
Yeah, that's it. Just hit record and off you go.
And then
Awesome.
upload it. Because you can hit record and save all the video you want until you publish something and you go, oh, like you said, and then you play back your very first one and you go, oh my goodness.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I thought.
I've grown so much. My very first episode was May 31st, I think it was.
Okay.
And now we're August, so I've been doing it June, July, a little over 2 months.
Okay.
20 episodes. So I mean, I've cranked some out. I wanted to get a number up there just to, but now I'm like, oh goodness, maybe I should slow down and only do like 1 or 2, like record them, but only release 1 or 2.
Right. So, what are your thoughts on speaking of releasing them? Right. First of all, did you really think in 2 months you would get to the point where you are now? That fast?
No. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, you have aspirations of it. I mean, I got stoked when I got the email saying that Apple picked up the podcast. Like, I was like, oh God, I'm like, oh my goodness, he's not an idol, but a big guy on podcasting world is Colin Cowherd, called The Herd. Sports talk radio guy here in LA. And I'm like, that's where I listen to his podcast. So I'm like, I mean, I have an iPhone, so I don't do Spotify. I don't do Google. I just use the app that's on my phone. I subscribe to Apple, and I'd be willing to guess that the majority of people that have an iPhone are watching or listening to podcasts on an Apple phone. Or on an Apple.
Yep, absolutely. And then, like we talked about before, like iTunes and Apple is where you absolutely is not even an option. You have to have your podcast because once it's there, because they control the market share. I think it's like 85% or whatever, and everybody else is like a little small one. And then
92% of my viewers are from the Apple podcast. So.
Yeah, definitely, because it is big on that, and Apple literally dominates the whole podcasting industry. And now other companies like Spotify, iHeartRadio, even Google Podcasts, and other little things, people are picking up like, oh, we want a piece of that particular pie. But Apple has been dominating it. So definitely get on Apple, and then that's it. If you just get on Apple, you'll be like set, because the way I look at it is because it has worked for me and everybody who has taught. Like once you get on Apple, then you sub companies will get it, and then also they will rank those sub companies, your podcast, higher in the search results. So right now, for example, if you just type my name in, Mark space Kumar space podcast, Apple is the first one, Podchaser is another one, then Google, then iHeart. For next 3 pages, my podcast list is up. And only place that actually distribute is Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, and I think Google, Spotify. That's it. I don't go anywhere else. Like if you want to keep it simple, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Done. That's it.
Yeah, simple. Like when I do the marketing, I usually do Apple and like Spotify on my link. Like if I do like a Twitter post or something, and then I'll put the YouTube link. Those are the three go-tos right now for me. But I used to put Anchor. I used to put them all. I mean, I'm like,
It's pointless.
why? When
It's
it's like
just
1% of the viewership or whatever.
right. So speaking of YouTube, where can people find you, or not just on YouTube or other channels, where they can find you? So if you want to mention that, and then also I'll obviously put that in the show notes for you. But just for people who are listening to it, you could tell a little bit about that.
YouTube channel is just System Basketball. Very simple. Just all one word, System Basketball.
Okay.
For YouTube. My website for my online clinics, my podcast information's on there too. Systembasketball.com. And then the unique name of the podcast is not System Basketball, it's the Baskopedia podcast. Little story on that for you guys is
Okay.
a friend of mine referred to me as Baskopedia for basketball, because anytime you wanted like an offense or a defense, like that's out there in notes in the computer world, I have like a big cloud library of like PDF files of different offensive and defensive strategies. So he dubbed me the word Baskopedia. So I'm trying to come up with a name for a podcast. So I called it the Baskopedia podcast. So, and I specifically kind of spelled it differently than what people would think.
Okay.
I spelled it Baskipedia, kind of off of a play off of Wikipedia.
Right.
So, so everybody's laughed about it, because originally when I launched it for my first like 10 or 11 episodes, it was just called the System Basketball Podcast.
Okay.
But I wanted to not be so niched to just System Basketball, so that if I wanted to talk about a different strategy or different things in the basketball realm, that Baskopedia sounds like an encyclopedia, right? So it can just be everything involving basketball. So that's how the name came. So
very unique, very unique.
And I'm glad I switched it early on. like within so I think it was episode 12 that I switched it, made my own little made my own little logo with a ball. It's a basketball and the word Baskopedia podcast with like the microphone.
Right.
Very simple. I mean, I haven't gone crazy and hired a cover art guy and all that stuff. If you know what another selfless plug out there for people is, if you know Canva, that's a great tool.
Oh, Canva is good. Then there's also, I think it's called Adobe Spark, I think, or
Correct.
Adobe Spark. So
Yep.
yeah, I love that one. It's like amazing because you can do like videos and everything else, and it's like amazing. I love that one.
And I've learned a little bit this week. First time. I don't know if you've attended any of the stuff with Podfest.
I have not. I've been so busy just recording these things. I don't have time for it.
I'm getting geeked about it. It's becoming more than just a hobby. I'm thinking, hey, maybe I don't want to do. Maybe I want to do this more. Maybe I want to find ways to monetize it a little bit. So.
Oh, I can tell you things that you can monetize it right now, and you don't have to wait for it. Obviously, some people, the very first thing that everyone knows about it, hey, go and get a sponsors. Go and get a sponsors. Like if you're just starting out, let's say you have 10 shows or 20 shows, whatever, nobody's going to sponsor you until you have like 50,000 or 20,000 downloads or listens per episode. And think about it. If people are listening to your show, 20, let's just throw a ballpark figure, 10,000, be very, conservative. If 10,000 people are listening to your show, you don't need sponsors, because those people are like, I like you. I like your podcast. So if you promote anything on your podcast, they're going to buy it because they trust you, they like you, and they want more from you. So I don't want to say screw the sponsor, but screw the sponsors, like whatever. So you don't need them, because at the end of the day, they're going to pay you like $20 sometimes, the low end side, and then the $500 on the high end side for per month. That's it. And then you got to put in the work to record for the ad and everything else. So it's like the same thing you're going to do for a sponsor, but you could do it for your own product or become an affiliate of some other products.
Yeah.
And that, it's the same concept. So like people like what I'd find is like people like, hey, I need a sponsor. I need a sponsor. No, you don't need sponsors to make money. You could follow this format. If people like your podcast at the end of every show or middle of every show, just give them a link, a URL in which they can donate something towards your podcast. And I kid you not when I tell you this number. One lady making $2,000 a month by using this particular way, literally.
No, I haven't heard that one. Thank you.
I mean, literally, it doesn't get any better. It's
So
all about the art.
would you advise to go put it back in previous episodes, or just start it with your next episode?
If your platform allow you to re-upload the MP3, because some of them don't, for I don't know why, but in our case, we let you do it.
I can just record a little blip and just stick it in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have the option to do that, yeah, definitely do that. Because you never know who is going to literally give you money. Because I tried that way for a little bit, and then I'm like, it's nice, but whatever. But there are other platforms that I
What did you use a donation? Did you use like
you can use
Stripe, or what'd you use?
You could literally use PayPal if you want. Simple as that. A URL to PayPal, which is like, I think it's PayPal me or something with your whatever, and then they give you the money, whatever they want to donate it to. Or you could use Patreon, but that's like another way. Probably PayPal will be better and simple. Just put a URL. Hey guys, if you truly enjoy this episode and you like the way I present this content and you want to support my show, this is literally what you can type and say. And make sure you go to the link that I put in the show notes to support me so that I will continue to provide value and great guests that come into my show. They can provide value to you, and that's it. And let's say if you have 100 people listening, and out of the 100, only 10 people give you, I don't know, like one person give you $1. Like, okay, whoopity do, $1 you didn't have, you have it now. Like, another person give you $2, another person give you $50, and then, $10, $20, whatever. And all those dollars at the end of the month probably will add up like $500. I'm just obviously throwing a ballpark figure here. So you got $500 that
you didn't have.
For, like, you literally just ask, and the saying goes, you're not gonna get it until you ask. What's the worst they could say is no? Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So
that's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I mean, just do that, and then there's so many different ways, and obviously that's one of them, which is the most easiest one. And then another one where it's like create your own digital product where you add value to somebody else, and then affiliate marketing, the whole 9-yard email. But that's
the genesis besides what I'm doing, because majority of my guests already did a clinic with me, so that we talk about the clinic, and then in the show notes, or I talk about where they can purchase their clinics and stuff like that. So I'm been doing affiliate stuff a little bit with my website to begin with. So I like these guys that wrote the book.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm affiliate to Amazon, so I have a link. So
see, it comes in handy. See, you don't need damn sponsors for that.
and that's the thing is, and my YouTube channel is in its infancy. I mean, my goal is to get it to 1,000, and get it monetized.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You could take it for what it's worth, and it's the same damn principle. People like, I need 4,000 hours and 1,000 subscribers, and then I will start to make money.
Affiliate marketing.
That's the way they market, right? But if you follow the same principle, when you create a content, there's a link. PayPal it, donation, give me money. You can literally just start off today and start asking people for money. If they like you and you add a value to them, they would be happy to give it to you. But not every single one. So let's say you have 10 people listen, out of 10, 2 or 3 give you, which is still.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah, I'm doing. Well, me and you will definitely have to talk more, because I'm doing a 6-week instructional series on a certain aspect of basketball with another guy, and we're marketing it online, and it's going to be like a course that they come on Zoom, like It's like a Zoom instructional series where they come on. We do the webinar, and then they get the video copy for attending.
Right.
And we're charging for it. So
See, podcast is a great way to promote that thing.
yep.
So yeah, definitely,
It doesn't start till September 14th, so I'm going to start mentioning it in all my podcasts. So
Exactly. So that's awesome, man. Mark, man, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I truly, genuinely enjoyed this conversation because I felt like I'm talking to, my name is Mark, you're Mark, so it's Mark talking to Mark.
and Mark with a K, so we're good.
Exactly. So it's really cool, man. So
I learned a lot from you today as well, so I appreciate it.
all right, man. Awesome, man. So on the end of the show, always leave it up to the person who I'm interviewing it. The floor is all your, whatever you want to share, your link, promotion, website, whatever. The floor is all yours, and then take it away.
I just want to thank you guys for listening to this today. My name is Marc Hart. I'm a basketball coach here in California. If you want to learn more about basketball, you can learn more information at my website, www.systembasketball.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Coach Marc, MarchHart. And of course, search up the Baskipedia podcast. So thanks, Mark, again for having me.
Awesome, man. It's been a pleasure.